Hey guys, it's Kevin in my review for Love and Monsters. So what Love and Monsters is essentially about is we center on the character of Joel Dawson, and basically for the past 7 years he has been living in this underground bunker of sorts after this apocalypse occurred that turned all living organisms into these savage monsters, basically. And so, he's been living underground. Everyone's pretty much paired up except for him. He has been communicating through ham radio with this girl, Amy, that he feels a real attraction towards. These two used to be in a relationship, and now they're really not, but he gets word that Amy is going to be moving to a different colony. So basically he sets out on this journey to try to find her and basically get back together with her once and for all, see if the spark is still there. Even if everyone else thinks he's crazy and it is a life-defying mission, he wants to do it no matter what. So, Love and Monsters overall, I was very excited for this film. This is one of those films that kind of came out of nowhere for me. The trailer came out, and I saw it, and it looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. It looked like something that we had seen done before, but it seemed like it could potentially be a really fun film, something that we kind of need during this time, and I'm happy to say Love and Monsters is actually better than I expected to be. This is easily some of the most fun and one of the most, I think, entertaining films that I have seen all year, and for many various reasons, but we're just getting to right now, starting off with the cast. And I'll just say right now, if it wasn't for the cast in this movie, I don't think this film would be quite as good as it really is, because the cast really does make this film, but especially when it comes to our lead performance here from Dillon O'Brien, who is great in this movie. And look, we've seen before that Dillon O'Brien can give a very strong lead performance, but never quite to the level that he has in this movie. I don't think he's ever had as much fun as he had in this film, and he's playing a different kind of character than he's before. This is not some invincible badass. This is just a regular guy who's kind of nerdy, and it could be hard to really sell that, but Brian really does a great job with it. He goes all in with this role. He is so much fun. He has so many great lines. Joel is a very likable character in that way, and I think it really is to Dillon O'Brien's credit. I mean, a lot of the film really is just him. It really is his movie, and so it is it's incumbent upon him to make this film as good as it is, but he really does go for it, and as a result, the film is only better because of it, and I just really loved what he ended up doing here. I've always loved Dillon O'Brien, going all the way back to things like Teen Wolf and things like that, but this film really just solidified just how great of a leading man he can be, and I just really love what he ended up doing in this film. The rest of the cast, though, I think also does some really great stuff here. Jessica Henwick is very good as Amy. She's not in the movie all that much, but for what she has, she definitely does do a very strong job. But the two other performances that I definitely have to highlight are Michael Rooker and Ariana Greenblatt. They are a lot of fun in this movie. They're these two sort of sidekicks that Joel's with for a while, and they're a lot of fun to watch. They have a lot of great lines here. Their interactions are very strong, and Ariana Greenblatt especially, I thought was just so funny in this movie. There were so many points where she could have been annoying, but no, she's very sassy. She's the right amount of sassy. She's the right amount of sarcastic, but she also has a really nice bond with Joel as a character, and I really liked what she ended up doing in this movie. Everyone, I think, does a really good job. The only other person I do want to highlight is Dan Ewing. He's not really shown much in the trailer, but he has a lot to do in the latter half of this movie, and I thought he did a really good job. I was very impressed by his performance for sure. Really, all the acting in this movie, I think everyone did a really solid job in terms of acting. There really isn't a performance in here that I felt like wasn't working for me, and I was pretty much impressed by everyone here. It really seemed like everyone was just having a ton of fun. But getting into the directing and the writing here, that's another thing that absolutely makes this film. And I'm not going to lie, going into this film, that was the one thing that I was a little bit worried about. Michael Matthews is not a director I'm all that familiar with, but after this film, I feel like I definitely will be, because he does such a great job here. I thought he did a really good job of taking aspects that have worked in other films, but also really making it feel like its own thing, because yes, we have seen films done like this before. It is based on a YA novel and things like that, so yes, it is something that we've seen done, and it very much does kind of feel that way, but he's able to inject a sense of fun, a sense of life into it, but also, surprisingly, a lot of heart. There's a lot more heart put into this film than I was really expecting, and never at any point does it feel like it's, too much with, it's becoming too much with the humor or too much with the heart. The two things just blend in very well, and I felt like Matthews just put so much effort into this film, and really could be a start, could really be the start of a bright new career for him, because I think he definitely has it in him to direct more films. I definitely will be on the lookout for him for sure, and I think he did a really great job directing this film. I was very impressed by what he ended up doing here. The writing as well is fantastic in this movie. Right off the bat, I think that the premise here, again, it is something that we've seen, but the world building especially is very strong in this film. They do a really good job with very quickly telling you everything that's going on within the first 5 minutes of the movie, but it's not done in a way where it feels like they're telling you too much. It's done in a way where it's done in a way where you're able to understand what's going on, so that way when Joel runs into these people, they don't need to be spouting exposition every few minutes. And I thought this was a really good workaround, because a lot of the time that's what we end up getting. We end up getting a lot of scenes of just people talking about things and over-explaining, and we don't really get any of that. We get a very good portrayal of what's happened in this situation, where we're at, and the way that they explore certain things as well, I thought was very impressive. For example, they'll take something like the colony and they picture it as literally what college feels like, because Joel isn't used to college. He's never been to college, so he kind of imagines that it's almost like a dorm room, and I thought that was a really fun idea. Little things like that just really show how much fun they put into this film. But also the characters here, I think, are fantastic. Joel as a lead is a really, really strong character, mainly because he isn't like this badass hero that everyone sees as this amazing guy. No, he's kind of seen as a nerd. Nobody really takes him all that seriously. He's someone who is kind of a loner in this situation because everyone else has been paired off and he really hasn't, so he already feels awkward in that way. But he also has a lot of hope and a lot of courage in him, and I really liked that about Joel's character. I feel like he goes through a significant arc in this film, starting off in one place and then ending off in another, and I just thought his character was really well written throughout. You understand his desire to find Amy, but you also understand the loss that he has had, because he has lost his parents. He's had to grow up without them for about 6 years, and you realize the weight that that has had on him as a character, and all of that is represented very well, I think, in the writing here. They did a very good job with that. And the other characters that Joel finds himself run into, I was very worried they were going to end up being very one-note and they weren't really going to provide a lot, but Michael Rooker and Ariana Greenblatt's characters, they end up having a lot more to them than I was expecting. Something this film does very well is that every single one of these characters has really lost someone that was close to them, whether it was a relative or a friend. Everyone has been affected by this disaster in some way, and I thought they did a really good job with diving deeper into that. You really do feel what that loss means for all these characters. The fact that they've had to go on without that, and the fact that, it's something where they're trying to move on, but it does still very much affect them, and I thought that they handled that very well in this movie. I was very impressed by the way that was done. The film is also really funny. There's a lot of great lines in this movie, a lot of great references to things that, you'll definitely really enjoy, but also just the humor in this movie is really great. There's a lot of really great moments here. Just some of the interactions between the characters are things that I very much did enjoy, and I just thought overall they did a really good job with it. And something else, and like I said, all the characters that Joel runs into, I thought definitely they made a really good impact with. Even Amy as a character did not feel one-dimensional to me. You understood who she was. She had a bit more agency than I was expecting. They dive a bit deeper into her than I was expecting, and I really did appreciate that. I thought they did a really good job of focusing in on everyone as much as they possibly could, and that was something that I was very impressed by. Even Joel's companion of Boy, this dog that he runs into, serves a much greater purpose. He's not just another dog. There actually is something that he does in the story. He actually does work as this trusted companion. something I didn't know going into this film is that it really is Joel's film. Like, the other characters are here, but the majority of the film is with Joel. There's a lot of time on him on his own with this dog, Boy, and that's really his only friend in some instances, and it actually really does work. And a lot of it, yes, is due to O'Brien's charisma, which, like I said, is just off the charts in this movie. He does an excellent job with that. But it also is due to how good the writing really is. They do a good job of fleshing out that relationship, and I was very impressed by that overall. So yeah, I think that the writing here is really great. There's a really great scene involving this, like, robot as well that Joel runs into. That scene alone just had me dying of laughter, and little things like that. I thought they just did a really great job with. The writing in here just ended up being really great for sure. But the other thing that really impressed me with this film that I wasn't expecting is the cinematography, which is amazing in this film, particularly the use of practical effects on these monsters. I was not expecting for them to look as good as they were, especially because this is a VOD film. This is a theater-ready film. This film could have come to theaters, and I think it would have done really well. I think it has come to a few theaters, but I really wish it would have come to more, because for me personally, I think that they did an excellent job with these designs. I honestly was shocked how good they looked. These monsters, they look almost like they could bite your head off at any point that they could, and you really do feel like you're in this situation. And I've said it for so many years, like, practical effects are so much better than visual effects because they look so much more real, and there's so much more you can do with them, and it's so much more impressive in that way. And it really does show what you can get out of these practical effects, and I loved what they were able to accomplish with this film. There's so many good shots here, especially any shot where Joel is running away from one of the monsters or he's interacting with them. It's really, really convincing, and I was very impressed by the way it was done. It's easily some of the best effects that I've seen in a very long time, and again, I was not expecting it to look as good as it did, so the fact that it looked as amazing as it did is just a real credit to the cinematographers in this movie. They did a really good job with that, but also the locations, and like I said, the world building is very strong here. It's something where if they wanted to do a sequel, I would absolutely be down for it, because I feel like there's still a lot more you can explore in terms of that, and I was very impressed by that here. The score as well is very good to this movie. It's very, it's something that's very catchy. It's something that really puts you in the moment, and I thought the score, they did a very good job with, and the editing to this film, I thought was pretty much perfect. There wasn't really a single scene that dragged for me. I was into it pretty much the entire time. I think it got better and better as it went along, and I think it's one of the most well-paced films that I've seen pretty much all year. So yeah, there's a lot that I'm raving about when it comes to this film. I think there's a lot of really strong elements to it. So is there anything that really brings it down? Well, for me, in terms of flaws, the only real flaw that I can think of, I think, is that some of the characters do feel a little underwritten. Like I said, as much as I enjoyed Michael Rooker and Ariana Greenblatt, they're really not in this movie as much as I thought. They're in the movie for about, I would say, 30 to 40 minutes, and then they kind of go away from the story, and I would have liked just a little bit more of them. I feel like they set them up really well. They get them to a good point, but I feel like some of it was just a little bit rushed. Ariana Greenblatt especially, the stuff they do with her character is a lot of fun, and I appreciated that. But I felt like they could have dived just a little bit deeper into it, and it's one of those things where maybe if they do a sequel, which I really hope they do, they can dive a bit more into those characters, but that was really the one thing that I wanted a bit more of. Other than that, though, Love and Monsters is such a fun and honestly really... And the romance between Amy and Joel, like I said, it feels very real. It feels like there is a palpable there is years of history there. You can understand why those two liked each other. And the heart, like I said, is much better than I was really expecting here. There were a lot of moments that very much did touch me. There were a lot of moments that I found myself very invested in. I was not expecting to be as into it as I really was, and I think they did a really good job with that. Overall, Love and Monsters is such a fun film. It's a film that does a really good job of taking a concept that we have seen done before, but making it feel fresh, making it feel unique, and it's one of the few times I think something like this has worked. How many times do we get a film like this that feels generic, that feels run-of-the-mill? No, this one feels fresh. This one feels like they actually have something that could work here. Dillon O'Brien's performance is incredible. He does a great job of anchoring this movie. Joel Dawson is such a likable character. The practical effects are incredible. The writing is really good. It's very funny. It's just everything you could really want in this kind of film. It's easily one of the most entertaining films that I have seen all year. It's such a blast, and I'm definitely going to give Love and Monsters overall a B+. But over, guys, to my review of Love and Monsters. The most guys saw this movie, left their thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.